Hello and welcome back everybody, Omega Given here. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about the theories that I have about the battles that might have been around the township. Now these theories are my own, and if you guys want to get to know more of the things I have as far as lore or theories, go and check out Gasher and Friends lore board. I have a whole speculative timeline there of my own stuff, as well as Gasher has some great material over there that you can go check out if you really want to dive into the lore. And please comment down below if I get anything wrong, as well as comment down below of any theories that you think that I should explore, or maybe you want to let me know about. But with that said, let's jump right into it. So to jump right on in, let's talk about the first battle that is on my lore board, the Battle of the River. Now this battle is what I declare as the battle between the two rivers that have a little plain in between that has a lot of mounds of dirt. This is right outside the town and right across the sandstone bridge once it is built by the players. So to start, let's talk about what we see. First, we see that there is rusted equipment. This rusted equipment shows that there is some sign of people that just got up and left, leaving their weapons and some items behind. This shows that maybe there might have been a battle because of that. The other reason why I say this might be a battle is because there are a lot of mounds of dirt in odd places, like as if it's just like things were left there everywhere, and that the elements took form over them and like turned it to dirt over some maybe rotting corpses, maybe the remains of a battle. So that's kind of why I think this is a battle. The two sections of dirt that I see are dirt that is gray, as if it's stone, but it's still a mound, and then dirt that is brown, which is, just a normal mound of dirt. So those are the things that we see here, and of course it is commonly known that this is the battlefield. Now, if this is a battlefield, then we do know that there is other mounds of dirt in other places across the township that has mounds of dirt, so it shows that there's more than one battle. Now, let's dive into this battle specifically though, and talk about the factions that might have been involved. Now, the first people we want to talk about is the Colony, which is commonly accepted that these are the people that were right before us that lived in the township itself. Now, it's just very logical that the Colony would be involved in this battle, because if they are the people that lived in the town, and this battle being right outside the town, it would make sense that these might have been the people that are defending against some foreign invaders, or they were just involved in some aspect of it. So with that faction set aside, let's look at the next faction, the Foreigners. Now, many of the cosmetics of a township tale hint there are many noble foreigners that came to the township to celebrate in different festivities and such. And there's also some evidence that shows that some of the foreigners kind of turned their backs on the town a little bit and maybe scrutinized the town in some aspect. So maybe these foreigners came because they did not like the town and what they were doing, so they came in as hostile this time around and declared war and had a battle here. So that could be a sign that maybe the foreigners could be a faction in this battle. Now, the next faction I want to talk about is the Hebios. The Hebios are known to be the people that lived in the camps outside of the township in the plains, which canonically speaking, the camps are actually not in the right place according to what the devs have said in the past. So that kind of points that the Hebios could be a faction of people or creatures. It's kind of hinted that they might be frog people, that they live a little bit farther off in some other area, maybe in the forest. And we do see the Hebios camps in the forest as well. So maybe the Hebios didn't like what the town was doing, so they came in and declared war and had some battle here. So that is one other faction. Now, the next faction I want to talk about is the Gotera and Phantoms. I'm putting these both together because there is some evidence that shows that the Gotera and Phantoms have something to do with something called the Big Bad, or that's what the lore community oftentimes calls it, as there's some kind of ritual that happened that the township or some other people got involved in, and it summoned these creatures or made them come about. So I put these there because, for one, the Gotera are actually right outside this area in the little wooded valley, as well as the Phantoms are very tied to the same idea that there might have been a ritual of some kind that summoned them, and maybe that summoning caused this battle to happen. So that is one other side of the faction. So now the factions are in place, let's rule out some of the factions. For starters, I want to rule out the Foreigners to begin with, because the Foreigners seem like they're intelligent people and they're honorable people. It just doesn't make sense to me personally that a foreigner would come in, wipe out maybe the town itself or the people there, and then just leave the bodies behind. It just feels like they might have some dignity to at least bury them in some kind of grave sites and everything that, can honor at least the opponent that they fought. The next one we want to limit out is maybe the Hebios, somewhat along the same lines as the foreigners, where they might be some people of intelligence that might have some dignity to not leave, their opponents behind just to rot. So that might be one aspect, as well as I do believe, this is my theory, that the Hebios might be some kind of barbaric people and they would have taken a lot of the materials that have been in the town. And you see that there's lots of weapons left behind that maybe they probably would have just taken those weapons with them as well. So that's why I kind of think that they might not be involved, but who knows really. This is just my theory for now. But then we have the final one, which is Gotera and Phantoms. Now, I think that these are actually probably the main culprits, as these creatures leave behind anything that is left on the ground, which aka would be the bodies of the town people, which are most likely the Kalmui, and also leave behind the items that are there. So they must have went through and cleared out all these people, even fighting all the way into the town, as we do find dirt mounds right outside of the town, right outside of that carpenter area. So it shows that these people fought all the way to the town. But before we get into my speculation and theories of that part of the battle, let's go to a different battle and then we'll come back to this later. Now, the next battle I want to talk about is the Battle of the Dust Bowl. So if we go to the Dust Bowl, which is the place where there is actually teleportation potion crates that are up in a mountain kind of area, this is the Dust Bowl area. Now, when we go to this area, we find a bunch of these same dirt mounds and stone mounds in this front area, and then there is a collapsed piece of rock behind it. Now, with this, we only see a couple of pieces of equipment left behind, and the crushed rock behind it hints at some kind of avalanche that might have happened here long ago. But then on the other side of the avalanche, we see lots of mounds of grass or bushes. Now, in the forest, if you ever go into PCVR in the forest, you technically can kind of traverse through bushes in a way, but these bushes you cannot traverse through, but instead you walk on top of. Now, this is just, speculation of mine, really, and it might not actually have to do with the actual mountains that are, in the Dust Bowl area where that one worm is, which, speaking of the worm, let's talk about the factions involved. So, one of the main factions involved, I believe, is worms. Yes, the green spit and crystal spit creatures that look like, big snakes that come out of the ground. Those guys make sense that they are probably one of the biggest culprits here in this aspect, because there's no Terabata, Gotera around, and there's probably not even Phantoms around here, meaning that this seems like the main area of this Dust Bowl area. Now, who is the other side? Maybe the defending side, the side that was slaughtered or something like that. Now, these people we can maybe either relate to the Kalmui or maybe somebody that came from the north. Looking at many of the cosmetics, there is a lot of hints of northern folk during the Christmas seasons that come from the north and celebrate in different festivities in the town itself. So these people could be traveling through this area, and this might be the main pass that they travel through to get to the town. Now, this pass also has the teleportation potions at the top of it and a crystal, monument kind of thing, which often relates to teleportation in itself. So this could mean that maybe people teleported in through here and then they walked into the town from this area, but this time in particular they were wiped out by the worms, and ever since that happened nobody returned to bury the bodies and recover the dead. So that's kind of what my theory is of this area. Of course, there's some honorable mentions for other factions that could be involved as Phantoms, and any other foreigners could have been involved. Of course, we don't know solidly what this is. This is just my theory, and it somewhat relates to the previous battles, but maybe not. I kind of think this is somewhat separate because there's not really any more, mounds of dirt that lead to the town. It seems like it's only consolidated in this Dust Bowl area. So let's move on to my third battle. Now, I actually call this battle the Massacre of the Mountain Pass because the location of this battle was right at the sign that goes to the mountain pass. There's a string of mounds of dirt that lead towards the mountain pass. And we also find rusted weapons here, and a couple of rusted pieces of equipment further down, and even more rusted weapons in the mountain pass itself. But there's no mounds of dirt deep within the mountain pass. It's only right here next to the town hall. So let's talk about maybe what is involved in this location maybe. So I actually had a previous theory where I actually thought that people fought from the mountain pass all the way to the town, but this time I'm actually thinking that it might be vice versa, retconning that theory and saying that this battle or this massacre was actually a post-battle from the Battle of the River. So maybe, and just maybe, and this is where my mind is telling the story of this of the Battle of the River, is that the defending people, the people of the township, maybe it was the Kalmui, were fleeing from this enemy that is coming from the east, and that they were telling everybody to evacuate the town. So everyone dropped their equipment, which is why we can find rusted equipment everywhere in the town all to this day. And then as they fled, finally the enemy reaches them once they hit the town hall area, and they overcame them and it slaughtered them all the way through the mountain pass, or at least briefly to the entrance of the mountain pass. And finally the enemies, or the defenders, making it all the way through the mountain pass, left their swords and their weapons behind, and there's no mounds of dirt where they are deep within the mountain pass, just so they can escape over the mountain pass with less weight on their shoulders. So with that aside, that's kind of my story of what I think might have happened. Let's talk about some other honorable mentions that, might be different for this kind of situation. Maybe this battle involves more worms because there's worms in the mountain pass area. Or maybe it might involve, even more phantoms in a different occurrence. Now, I don't think that is true because just under the same logic that, if these bodies, just were left here to die and rot, that people would have came in to at least bury them if that people reinstated the town again. But no, these bodies were left here in mounds of dirt, and we come to find them to this day. So it seems like the attacking force did not have the dignity to at least bury, their opponents. But of course, that's all just speculation in that aspect. And this is kind of where I wanted to open up to you guys. Like, maybe the Dust Bowl does relate to these two occurrences, the Massacre of the Mountain Pass and the Battle of the Rivers, but I kind of see them as separate just because there doesn't seem, that much of a connection point between them. But it does seem like there is some connection point, and a loose connection point between the Massacre of the Mountain Pass and the Battle of the River. But please let me know what your guys' thoughts are. Some other honorable mentions that I wanted to mention, which, are goofy enough to seem, but maybe, who knows, the Sproogle were the enemies in this situation. And maybe the Sproogle were the ones that wiped out and chased away the Township, and they instated their own civilization here, and that's why we find the Sproogles to this day when we enter the Township. That's of course a goofy one. Who knows, maybe it's true, maybe it's not, we don't know. That one kind of just a good laugh for me, but maybe it's true, we have no idea. So with that said, I don't know if there's anything else I wanted to cover in this video specifically. There might have been some details that I missed out, and maybe some details I got wrong. So let me know down below what are your thoughts. Maybe let me know the evidences that I might have missed over, that might have, maybe retconned some of the things, as well as just let me know some ideas that you guys are thinking of and what I should explore next. One last thing before you guys go, if you look down below this video, there is a like button and a subscribe button, and that it is rumored that if you press those things that you might be able to get more content like this. So please go like and subscribe so you can get more content like this if you like lore and conspiracies and theories, because sometimes it's really fun to just theorize things that, probably aren't true. Maybe they're true, who knows, we just like the enjoyment of the idea of that. And also go check out the ATT SMP videos that are coming out with me and a bunch of other creators. Those guys are working hard and we're all having a really good time to try to entertain you with some cool ideas and a cool story. Also go give some thanks to Gasher and Friends, and go check out that lore board if you want to get involved into more lore and theories, and please let us know some theories that you guys have. Always comment down below if you have those ideas, and I'll see you all next time. Thank you, bye.